Good morning, everyone. Welcome to my channel. So, a ginger jar or vase or a bunch of flowers to be created for our still life, Roxy's Journal of Stitchery. And I've been thinking a lot. I've got lots of ideas and I've slowly narrowed it down to a bit of a plan of attack. So let's get going. But before I do, I just wanted to let you all know that I've been missing in action for the last 2 weeks. You did see a video yesterday. It was a pre-recorded video. Thank goodness I had a few up my sleeve, and they'll just roll out whenever. And the Roxy ones are more up to the actual timeline. I've been a little bit preoccupied because unfortunately my dear father passed away. So there's been a lot to organise and all sorts of, things to do. So I just thought I'd mention it. I wasn't going to say anything, and I did announce it a week ago on our Facebook group that I share with Tia and Susanna. But since then, for those of you who haven't been part of that Facebook group, Stitched Vintage Treasures, I've been getting emails to say, where are you? What's happening? Are you okay? I'm okay. Everything's okay. So I thought, I'm going to have to say something. So unfortunately, it's a bit of a downer, but I'm okay. Everything's going to be fine. So let's just get on with the project because I'm itching to do some stitching. I've done a lot of stitching the last couple of weeks on my Gosling quilt. Thank goodness I had that. Oh my goodness, it was just great to sit and stitch. What a therapy in that. But today we're on to the vase of flowers on the Roxy Journal of Stitchery project, which has been sitting to one side the whole time, just pulsating. But it's been good because it's given me time to have a good think about it. Now, ginger jar. I'm definitely going to do a ginger jar. This is my little ginger jar that I took from the farm when I was cleaning up the house, and it belonged to my mum. I don't even know where she got it. I just remember seeing it popped up on top of the piano at one point, and I think she thrifted it. I'm just not sure. It's not Japanese. It's goodness knows. I'd say it's just a cheapy shop, but I love it. I've looked at ginger jars many times in stores to buy. There's actually 2 for sale in Harvey Norman at Harvey Bay that caught my eye about 3 weeks ago. I was in there and I was like, oh, they're gorgeous. And I thought, no, I don't need them. So I walked away. And there are 2 of them sitting on this coffee table. And with this little guy, it'd just be beautiful. I might end up going and getting them because, I'm going to be right into ginger jars in a moment. So my plan is to, yes, have a ginger jar and recreate this image. It might be wishful thinking, but I'm going to give it a go. I think it'll come close-ish. So that's the plan for the vase, but I'm still not convinced it's the right vase for my flowers. So the ginger jar is just hanging there at the moment. I just don't want to rush any of these prompts. I want to do elements of them as they roll through and then sort of bring it all together at the end because I just want to pace myself. In the effort of potentially making a ginger jar, I found 2 pieces of fabric that have potential. Like it's not going to be identical, but I have 2 pieces of fabric that I think will work with my piece. I don't have anything this blue, but this blue doesn't look right on my piece because it's all those French reds and creams. But I'm really happy with these 2. So at this stage, the vase will be sitting to one side. So I'm going to put that away at the moment. And we'll come back to that in future weeks. Now, the flowers. I went through all of my fabrics, and this is a piece that jumped out at me. I just think the palette and the looseness of the flowers and the texture, because this is like a fabric that is an upholstery fabric, is just beautiful. I love the leaves. This one is the one that gave me the most potential, I thought. The flowers on it, oh my goodness, they're gorgeous. I love that. And I love that I've got some birds because I'm thinking, well, I'm not thinking, I know I'm going to include a bird in it. And there's a couple on this piece. And there. So that's where I'm at with the fabric. Now, I'm not going to do all fussy cut fabric flowers. I really want to bring texture into my piece. So we'll just let that sit there. That's my colour palette. So I started thinking about these. Now, I made these probably 2 years ago. They are made out of scrappy bits and pieces, all stitched down to create elements to embellish. So there's some hearts, and these templates for these shapes are on my website, and these were one of the first patterns I released when I had an Etsy store, but now I've actually got a proper website. So I thought the scrappy heart, scrappy butterfly, scrappy dragonfly is where I'm going to head with my flowers. Not all of them will be that way, but they'll merge in with all of the other flowers, because I want my piece to be something that's hanging on the wall that the more you look, the more you see. Does that make sense? So if someone's having a look at these flowers, they'll spend a moment and follow a journey through the flowers. Does that make sense? I don't know. I'll put those away. So I've had a little play and I've made 3 flowers. And what they are is a combination of layers of fabrics and lacy bits all stitched together. And then I've embellished the fabrics. So the plan is there'll be some flowers from the fabric, some flowers from me. So there's the 3. We've got a blue, a pink, and a little apricot one. I think that's all I need at this stage. So it'll be all mushed together. Now, in addition, I really want to use a couple more elements. There's that little guy and this. So I've picked out 2 embroideries that haven't been completed that I've picked up. And I'm wanting to fussy cut out these and this one and have some sketchy flowers in amongst it. So if you imagine, so this one here, I'd get 2 out of it. I could even get 3 if I was tricky enough. That little piece, that little piece, and that little piece. I think that's what I'll do. And I may not then need this. The thing with this one is the fabric to me is not quite the right colour, but until it all comes together, I really don't know. But this is a so-so, maybe okay, just not sure. This one I think is perfect. I think it'll blend in beautifully. So that's the extra element. It'll have this whimsical, sketchy feel about it. So they're in. And then the third element, just to add even more interest, is I have this, it's a pill slip. These little flowers, I just think are gorgeous for those little soft details. Everything's big and bold, so I need to get it right back down to some little small elements. So I fussy cut out one of those, and it too has a nice texture about it. It's like a heavier sort of drill type fabric. So they are the elements going towards my flowers. So it's going to be quite a clash of all sorts of things, which is typical me, but I'm really happy with these. My inspiration for these came, I was actually trolling quilts. I've really fallen down the quilt rabbit hole, and you'll see in up and coming videos some different takes on some classic quilts that I'm tossing around. But in the process, I found this quilt. I think it's called Rose Garden. It popped up on one of the quilt Facebook sites. It was quite a few years ago, these posts, so I'm not sure if it's still in trend at the moment. And it was the fabric cut out, then another layer and another layer and another layer. And then it was all machine stitched down to a block, and it became a quilt. And I thought, oh, how effective. That's sort of a little bit slow stitchy. So that's where I was like, I could make those for my vase of flowers. So where do we go from this point? Let Let me just move a couple more things out of the way. We'll keep that safe. And that little bit. Now the fabric I've chosen, don't ask me the name of the kit, the pack, if anyone recognises it. Carnival Blooms, something like that. Pop it in the comments. But it's a few years old, so that's probably not even worth, Fudgy Bee, not even worth probably hunting it because it might not be still around. But I thought these colours are just beautiful. I've used this fabric a few times on different projects. It's just these flowers, and then to have complementary fabrics is lovely. So that's the pack of fabric. Now the last element, which I dearly love to put in, is I was a very lucky girl. I went into Hubby Bay yesterday and I went to the brand new Vinnie store. If you're watching Karen, it's a cracker, absolute cracker. It's huge. I've never seen so many people in a charity store. So they're doing something really well. It's next to the cinemas in town. And so it's like they built some new retail outlets and all of them moved across to there that were in this one area near the cinemas, and now all this new business has come into town, and the St. Vincent's de Paul company has built a Vinnie's, is what the nickname is. Well, that's over the door as well. And it's huge, absolutely huge. So the hubby was picking up some lighting bits and pieces next door, and I toddled up the footpath and found the best 2 tablecloths I've ever found in my life. I've bought these in the past and I've paid a fortune for them. So I found 2 that are embroidered. Look at that. And it's big embroidery. It's not the fine little cross-stitchy pieces. It's big. And it's funny because I had this piece. Hang on, I'm off. I had this piece. I think Susanna gave it to me. And I've got various similar pieces, this. And I knew when this whole project started that I wanted some cross stitch in my vase. So I've had this sitting to one side, and I think I've shown it in earlier videos as, you know, potential. Well, I went hunting and this is the only piece I have, so I don't have any more of this. And if I'm doing a vase of flowers, you sort of want a few of all of the flowers. So I was a little bit disappointed. I found versions of and different color waves, and I was like, I don't really know about that. So when I found this guy, I'm like, oh, it's not quite right, but boy, that'll be handy to have in the stash. Then dead set hanging next to it was this one. Look at that. And to me, that's going to be perfect. I know there's yellow, but I don't know, I'm a bit of a fan of yellow, that when you start going down a colour palette of all pinks or all blues or all reds, sometimes yellow is the colour that just lifts the flowers. So I know it's technically not on my colour palette, but I think it might end up being in there. Worst case scenario, I can bring one of these guys in to knock it back. So I'm not too worried if it doesn't peek out, but I think it needs to. We will only know when it comes time to, you know, do our piece. The other thing I like about this is the leaves on this are better than the leaves were on this. They're very primary green. So that was bugging me a little bit about this piece too. It wasn't quite right. The leaves are more in tone with these leaves. Oh, that fudgy boy. So really, really happy now. I can't believe when you think you can't do something and something falls in your lap. I tell you. So he's not going to be used. He's for a rainy day. Oh, do you want to know how much I paid for them? You're going to just be like, oh my goodness. Now let me just say, I'm always looking at op stores and I haven't bought anything for so long because I can't find anything. $4. They were $4 each. Anyway, I won't gloat anymore. You'll be sitting there going, good on you. That's what I say when I see everyone else's finds. It's like, oh my goodness. All right. Now, These are the fabrics that my flowers are made of. We've got fabrics from that fat quarter pack. Don't you jump up, Mr. Fudge. This is the little apricot guy, 2 different coloured apricots. And this is the blue, a spot, a floral, and that one. And then there wasn't anything else in that pack that blended real well, and I didn't want to go that tone, and I didn't want to go the grey that's in here, the grey blues, and that fabric didn't look right to me. It needed to be finer. I didn't like the stripes. I was like, now I've run out of fabric out of that pack, and I need 3 flowers. So I dipped into a Tilda pack, Windy Days. It's part of a big pack. I've been sitting on it for ages, hoping to make something gorgeous out of it one day. And I pulled them out and I'm like, oh, they're perfect, but do I? And I did. I chopped a little bit out. I just know that that's going to be something I will regret in the future when I'm slicing this up for a project. But I did it. So anyway, enough yapping. What I want to do is make some flowers with you because they are so much fun. And even if you have got your flowers sorted and you're happy with your arrangement and you're busy stitching, you know, these little guys, I think are just going to be handy to have in a container in your room as just embellishments, whether they go on journals or pouches or just other, you know, projects. So I thought there's no risk if I make them and I decide at the last moment that I don't use them. I don't care. It's, yes, Fudge, you don't care either? Come on, he's coming up. Come, Fudgy. Fudgy went to the vet yesterday. He's okay, don't panic. As you know, he's got kidney disease. Oh boy, 19 now, hey Fudgy. It's very slow, so blessings there. And we gave him a needle for pain, and it regenerates nerve endings in cats with this disease. So he goes from being quite stooped and low at the back, and when he walks he crabs a little bit. They give him this needle. It's like a wonder drug, and they instantly stand proud. A lot of strength comes back into the nerve endings. It's like it makes the brain connect to the feet and legs and haunches, just like that. And it lasts about a month. Depending on the cat, he gets about 6 weeks out of it. And I noticed probably 48 hours ago, when he'd stand and chat to me, he'd very quickly go and sit. And I thought, right, time to go back to the vet. So he's had 3 treatments over the last 4 months. And it's a miracle drug. And I was chatting to the young nurse, and she said that they were at a conference and they showed the launch of this particular medicine. And they had this poor cat that was walking down these stairs and literally dragging its back end down. And she said it was typical. She said, we see this all the time. The needle goes into the pussycat, and she said 2 days, but I see a difference in Fudge in hours. She said the next video, this cat is just trotting down the stairs. And she said the room just burst into tears. So imagine all the vets and the vet nurses watching that going, oh my goodness, that's amazing. So that was quite an interesting side story. Now we've gone into veterinary tuition. I tell you, seriously. Let's stay focused, Corrine. All right. Now I'm just thinking, do I mix the layers up a bit? Oh, Fudge is coming up now. I'm on Fudge. Sorry, guys. There we go. Pussy's coming through. Yeah. You gotta keep going, mate. That's it. If I mix it up, it might look a bit busy. I might just reproduce what I've got in the combinations I've got, because it's a flower. So yeah, I'm thinking, all right. And I want 3 of each. So, and this is all I've got of the fabric. So I'm going to cut that now before there's a... So yeah, hope you're all well. I haven't even asked. I got straight into it like usual. All is good here. All is good here. I must tell you the sweetest story. we were having the funeral of my dad, and I was greeting people as they were coming up to the gravesite, and a lot of Dad's friends, and so it was just like a sea of old farmers and stockmen, and it was just gorgeous. And so there was hugs all around, and I'm the little girl, and you've grown up so much, all that, all day it was like that. So I jump up to meet this one particular couple, and Heather was a very close friend of my mum's, and Robbie was a very close friend of my dad's. And it's funny because the men never really said much. Like, you never really see them talk. You see Mum and Heather together, and it's natter, 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 natter. It was instant explosion of conversation. But the men were a little bit more subdued. But Robbie he's very cheeky. He's a classic old Australian stockman. If you could imagine that, a cowboy. And horsemanship is amazing. He's incredible, and he's a really nice guy. So, and he'd probably be 80s, and he's still working like a trooper, I tell you. Heather comes flying up to me, and she goes, "Oh, Corrine, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." Hugs, hugs, kisses, kisses, and lots of tears. And she says, "Oh, bloomin' Robbie, he's got some of your dad's last onions and he wants to put them in with the casket." And I'm like, "Oh, look, don't worry about it. I think there's a couple have asked me. There's a few onions in the crowd." And a few had asked me earlier, "I've got some of your dad's onions." Dad had finished harvesting. Well, no, he didn't finish. He was halfway through harvesting his onions when he went in for surgery. So when it all went pear-shaped, I had 100 bags of onions sitting in the shed that I had to get to market and sell, and, so they didn't get wasted, which we did. And Robbie had obviously got a bag of them at some point through all of that. And, of course, that was all in August. So now everyone's getting down to the last of their onions that they'd bought from Dad, and he's well known in the district for growing produce. And onions was one of his big crops that happened every year. So Robbie's got these onions, and Heather says to me, "These 2 onions have been sitting on the table for the last week or so," and he's just kept saying, "That's Roy's last onions, Roy's last onions." So she's like, "Oh, okay, he's having a moment with these onions," which is fair enough. And she said she thought he was wanting to make a shepherd's pie, but no. So she gets in the car the morning of the funeral, and here the onions are in those little yellow net bags, little orange net bags. So she says, "What are you doing with the onions? They're going in with Roy. They're going in with Roy." So she's like, "Oh my goodness, this is gonna be a circus." So that was on her mind to immediately get to me and say, "Corrine, he's got onions. He's wanting to put them in the casket." And I said, "Look, whatever. It's fine. It's fine." So anyway, long story short, we've lowered the casket, and I had said to Pastor at the beginning of that service, I said, "Look, I've found out there's a lot of onions in the crowd that want to go in with the casket." Okay, it's not a problem. He said, "This actually is a common thing." And I had rose petals, but all the farmers had produce. So Pastor at the end says, after the casket's in and it's all finished, he said, "Now I understand that there's a lot of produce in the crowd. If you'd like to come forward and pay your respects." And oh my goodness, I could hear people behind me just going, oh, Out comes Robbie. He comes striding up to the side of the area, and he announces at the time, "These are Roy's last onions, and they've got to go with him." And bonk, in they go, and the place just erupted. It just put that light moment at the end that it was perfect. Right, what am I looking for here? This fabric. There we go. It's this little guy here that I'm chasing. I thought I had a scrap, but I must have used it all. So we've got a spot as well. yet to go in. So as you can see with these little fellas, I'm just rough cutting it. Cut yourself out a square that's roughly the size. Okay. So pretty simple. The first one I did even a little extra stitching on it. I did some little crosses and some, I'm going to make that a bit smaller. I want to see the quilts that were done like this. Gee, they were pretty. Yeah. And then they sewed around them with free motion. So they sort of did that one round and round, and then they'd laid the next one. And I think it was 3 elements. Just really pretty. I thought that's something I'd enjoy doing if I end up doing another quilt. I must say I have finished my Gosling quilt. I just love it. You guys will get 3 videos over the next month or so. So, because I started it, back before Christmas. So it's all done. I haven't yet put the layers together, the top, the batting, and the back, because I'm still thinking about all that. And it is the height of summer here, guys. So the thought of having a quilt on my lap to hand quilt is just not a pleasant thought. So I've decided to put it to one side. I will put the layers together, find a fabric for the back and the batting or whatever I use inside. I'm thinking even using an old sheet to keep it lightweight due to the climate. And then I'll tack it all, so then it's just ready to pick up when I'm ready to quilt it, is the plan. But it's been fantastic. I really enjoyed it, and it was just such a gift to have on my hands the last couple of weeks. Nice, and a project you can deep dive into. I'm just making sure that I get a little bit of the previous background. Okay, another little flower. And then we Corrinify it. And get a slow stitch element to it. Piecing all these fabrics together, it's, at the end of the day, it's all about slow stitch, so we've got to get our needle and thread out. There we go. So there's my 2. So I do have a needle threaded already, I think. Yeah, I do, but not a lot of cotton on it. We'll see how we go. Before I do that, it's time to have a look at, just tidying up here, guys. It's time to have a look at some lace elements. So what I've got here is lots of little morsels, which we'll get to. But I've got this lace that I've had in my cupboard for ages. I went to a garage sale and picked it up. She was a lingerie maker. So I thought, I've got to start using it. I've got a few of these, just, wide lace that you'd put into clothing. So, and I like that it's stiff. It's a modern lace. It's got a stiffness about it. And I thought that's going to be perfect to have little sprays of something coming out of these quite solid looking pieces. They needed softening, and that's where this is going to come in. And I worked out from this one flower I can get quite a few little elements. So that's the next piece, and I just poke them between the layers. So you can go as big as that, or you can break it down into some smaller little pieces like that. And I'll take that big guy off. Okay, and then it's just a case of bringing them in, and the flower itself is in the middle, and I pinch it a little bit so that it's sort of taking advantage of that structure. It just gets a little bit of height to it. And remember, it's going under glass, but I've got a gap of about nearly an inch, so I can really go to town. And I remember, I think it was Rachel's video, probably Sarah too, the word texture kept coming up in their concept, and I'm thinking, yeah, I always stitch things down. Everything is tightly stitched. I want to be a little bit looser, hence why this texture is where I've sort of tried to keep myself focused on. What had happened to the needle? There it is. So we're knotted. And then we just pick it up, and while it's in our hand getting ready to stitch, I'm sort of going to put it a little bit off center so I see that last little piece. And then in one of these layers, poke him, and then this little guy has got potential as well. So it's like spraying out of the flower. And then it's just a couple little stitches in a few key spots to catch everything, and that's it for now. So that's the basic construction of this little guy. I've seen, is it Tracy Myers? You know, the lady, she's the blonde lady with, she takes clothes and turns it into, you know, slow stitched pieces, and I'm sure it's Myers, Tracy Myers. Just correct me in the comments if I've got that name wrong. I'm pretty sure I'm right. Where she'll take a pair of jeans and she'll stitch onto those jeans additional fabrics and, you know, really just transform all of this clothing, upcycling thrifted clothing. I love her gear. I wouldn't wear half of it. I'm a little bit understated. I'm a little bit of a chicken, but I do love it. I can appreciate the fabrics and the techniques. She does often clusters of fabrics and laces together to create an embellishment for a piece, whether it be a jacket or a bag or something like that. So she's another one that I've watched do this sort of thing and thought, oh gosh, that's nice. So that's it secured just with a couple little stitches. Let's do this one as well. So once I have all of these little guys made, which I'll do over the next day or so, I'll reposition the camera. I'll fussy cut out all of those other elements that I've shown you, the printed doily, the little pink flowers, and I'll reposition the camera and we'll go to that area where it's laying and have a little play. And at that stage, I guess we'll make the decisions on what's the final, you know, pieces to join in. I might do a big, all right. Good. What else is news? Not a lot. I did release the tickets to my retreats, and oh my goodness, overwhelmed by the participants that are coming. It's fantastic. I had to order more boxes. I had based it on the previous retreat and thought, you know, that'll be plenty, you know. And then the tickets went on sale and, I went frantic. And there's still tickets available because my venues are fantastic. Newcastle is Beck's store, Sobe curated, and she has a huge space. And the Harvey Bay, the girls have put me back into the original room, which is huge, and like we could have a wedding in there. So I've got plenty of room, and I've ordered some more boxes. So there's going to come a point where I will say, that's enough because it'll be massive. Well, massive enough for a slow stitch class. So yeah, it's overwhelmed, guys. There's only the 2 locations this year. I just don't have the time to do the 3 that I did last year, unfortunately. But a lot of the Ipswich girls are coming up. So there's a couple I'm picking up on the train. I offered the service that if you're coming out of Brisbane, jump on the train. At the stop that you get off is Howard, the little country town near me. That's where the drapery is, which we'll be taking the girls to as well. So, and Dewdrop Inn will be going there. So there's 2 fantastic fabric stores. They're my locals, and they're just awesome. Both of them are awesome. And the girls that own them, they're just so passionate about our community and fabric, and just wish them all the best with business. It's tough out there, and they're just giving it a go. It's great. Getting all sentimental again. I'm going to put that little guy there. A little stitch. So yes, I've been busy working on the kits that go with the retreat class, which has been fun. I'm not doing too much towards it yet because it's not until July, so steady the horses. So, but I've got distinct ideas that I want to do, and well, not so much the project itself. That's already, it's the little houses around the timber box. It's additional side activities, because there's always additional side activities with me. We never stay on task. So I keep thinking of things. Oh, we could do this. We could try that. Oh, I've never tried this. Let's try this. So I've got a few things that are burning a hole in my head. So I need to make a prototype. And if I'm still enthusiastic after that, it'll be part of the class. So there's the next one. So what we do then, how are we going for time? We've got plenty of time. We'll be able to finish these. We'll come very, very close. Is I then grab out some cottons, and I've got 2 here that I chose, a pink and a white. I thread up my next needle, and I do a running stitch around the edge of each of the layers. So I'll do this one here because you'll be able to see it. I stitch that down a little bit, but that's fine. I'm going to nestle my knot down here, and I'm just adding a little running stitch. Now, one of them I did a little bit of overcast stitch and some crosses and dashes, and which one was that? There. So I did a little bit of overcast stitch on that edge. I did a little cross, and then in here I did some little crosses. Then I started adding all the lace, and I'm like, I can't even see what I just did. So I sort of backed off of that idea, and I've just left it to a simple running stitch around. And then I went back and revisited more delicate, interesting elements to really take it to the next level. And that's where all these bits came into play. Edges of crocheted doilies, scrappy bits, Corinifying it. There we go. So it's just a little running stitch. That outside one I might do in pink. Now you could do this to your circles before you stitch them together. That would be logical. But as this was a evolving project, I ended up doing it after they were put together because I was like, oh, I could stitch. So that's sort of what I'm literally showing you how it came together, but you could certainly cut all of your elements of fabric and then run around them with this running stitch. But it's more fun wrangling all of these bits that are in your way because you know how it is. What's that saying that I never get right? You put the cart before the horse. That's so me. I get there in the end once I realise the cart's not moving again because the horse is behind me. Then I'll bring the horse forward and attach it to the cart. Oh my goodness. This is so classic. That's what be the frustration my husband has. You look at his face when you do something daft. Just like, I know, I've just realised if I do it this way, it'll actually work. And then you just look at your husband's face and they have that blank look on their face. You have to say, I don't know how you do it. That's the look. Okay. I've got a bit of a sore throat this morning. Why have I got a sore throat? I'm definitely run down, guys. Oh, my goodness. I didn't realise how much so. You guys all warned me, take care of yourself. Yeah, you know how it goes. But, oh, yeah. Definitely. And I'd say this sore throat's still a byproduct of getting myself back on deck. I'm back eating healthy too. I really went off the rails. I was so naughty. I was enjoying so much rubbish. But I never felt good after it either. It's funny, you buy that packet of twisties and down they go all in one sitting and you think, oh, I haven't had twisties for ages. That was good. It makes me emotionally feel good. And then about an hour later, you're like, why did I eat those twisties? My tummy hurts. They're just rubbish. I don't need twisties. It's like an emotional roller coaster ride. But I'm back. I'm feeling heaps better, bar this tickly little throat. But I did go to town yesterday. Probably touched something and touched my mouth. You forget all the things you learn when you have a pandemic like COVID. It reminds you just how grotty you are. Washing your hands regularly. Yeah, I'd say that's what's happened. There was a lot of people in town. Went to a cafe for breakfast first. That's right on the water. If you're ever in Hervey Bay, Enzo's, it's just lovely. It's the only restaurant that's right on the foreshore because it's all parks, caravan parks, parklands, a road, and then the esplanade shops and units and places to stay, fish and chip shops and things like that. But this one business is right on the edge of the sand dunes and it's so lovely because they've got it all open to the ocean. But you've got to pick your days. If it's a windy day, no, you don't go. If it's raining, no, you don't go. But if it's a beautiful day and you're going to town to do the shopping, breakfast at Enzo's has become a lovely addition to a day out. Listen to me talking like we live rurally, like my childhood. You go to town for the day once a month. Sort of feels a bit that way at Burrum because it's a 20-minute drive, half an hour drive, only because there's 80-kilometre-hour areas as you go through some of the outer little townships heading into the bay. So it feels like you're going to town for the day. So you're watching this video Saturday. I'm making it Friday. I had, like I said, that video already pre-programmed, which is good. It's part of the pouch bag series that I'm doing. And tomorrow's Sunday. I'm heading back to town because I've been wanting to join in to Dewdrop in. Linda has every so often a launch of fabrics, products, patterns, just like a gathering day. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get out of bed early, get my chores done, and I'm going to head into town and check out this launch. And I might have a chat to her about, if she's not too busy. She'll be busy with people everywhere, so I probably won't get a chance, but I'm going to have a chat to her about, if I can, the wadding that I should put in my quilt. I have heaps of wadding here. It's a polyester cotton blend. And I spoke to Beck about it at some point and said, you know, what would she recommend? And she said 100% cotton. And I don't have any batting that's 100% cotton. So I'm just sort of thinking about my options there. I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to buy something, because I've got big roll of this cotton polyester. I used it in my last retreat with the project, and I'll be using a little bit of it with this retreat. So I have a nice big fat roll of it. But do I use it on my quilt is the question. See how that's lightly gathered like that? I'm leaving it like that. It's deliberately puckering it up a little bit just to help build that texture. So let's pretend that I've stitched the remaining 2 layers. So what I do then, because it's already 46 minutes in, is I start picking up some of these extra bits and seeing how I can work them into the piece as well, just to add extra interest, or if they suit or not. See, that's too overpowering for me. This little guy, I was just looking at his mate. This little guy was used. It's just layering in some extra little bits and pieces. And these are just edges off of doilies that I've used in projects. And because they're curved, that's helping me get them. Maybe down the bottom, maybe in there. Yep. So then it's just come back with the needle and thread and stitch those into position. And I might even add, I can see a tiny little motif, this guy here. I might tuck him into there as well. Yep. So once again, grab my needle and thread, couple little tacking stitches. You don't have to go crazy with stitching it down because it's not, you know, clothing. That bit's fallen out, but that's okay. We'll come back to you. It's just enough to hold those little pieces. There's some beautiful vases of flowers. Oh my goodness, if you're not part of the Facebook group that the girls have, I'd highly, strongly recommend you do. If you've got access to Facebook, go over and check it out, because oh boy, there's some really good ones. And so, you know, you see a bunch of flowers. Well, okay, you picture a florist and everything's amazing, beautiful as you scan, but there's just those 1 or 2 bunches that resonate with you. That's what I'm finding with the photos. It's like you're looking at a florist store and there's everything there and you love all flowers, and then there's just this 1 or 2 bunches. Sometimes there's no bunch. I've been to florist stores and I'm like, you know, I might buy myself a bunch of flowers. So I spend time and go through looking at it all and, oh, I like that, but I'm not fussed on that. And I start critiquing all of these bunches And often I don't actually buy a bunch because they've got to speak to me. And it's been the same with the photos coming up. It's just every so often there's one that's like, oh my goodness, that'd be something I'd buy in a florist shop. Alrighty, so they're secure, and this guy dropped out the bottom. So let's scoot down there to catch him. I think he was in this layer, wasn't he? Doesn't really matter. I was stitching those couple prototypes on the couch last night. I was yapping to some friends. We were yapping for bloomin' ages. And I was stitching them. I'd actually just cooked dinner and the phone rang, and it was a pair of my mad mates, and we're yapping for ages. And beside me was the flowers that I was fiddling with prior to cooking dinner. So some of them weren't quite secure, and I was showing them the flowers and bits were dropping out everywhere all over the place. It was funny. Okay. Here we go. Just a couple more stitches. So I think you got the general gist of this. I won't torture you by making you sit through making them all, but I'll do 3 of each. 3 colours, 3 of each flower, and that'll give us plenty, I think, to play with. The vase of flowers is going to be quite over the top. So I want plenty of little elements. I'm not sure when the next video will be. I'll have to check my calendar. So stay tuned, but all is good here. For those lovely folk that sent messages to say, where are you? Is everything okay? Everything's okay. Alrighty, so there we go. I have considered putting beads, buttons and all of those trimmings in there, but I'm just going to wait, because if there's no beads and buttons on anything else in the other prompts, it might look a bit odd. So I sort of want to see how the rest flow to see if that's where, you know, I go. And I might do something in the center of these, but I just want to get them all made. We'll get them in position, we'll take a photo, and then I'll think about the next layer of embellishing, or we just leave it like it's if anything, my piece is a little bit understated. Like I've thought about adding lots more fabrics to the background and busying it up, but it sort of doesn't feel like that sort of piece. But whether these prompts bring it into that, they look so full on sitting on the table that the background needs a little extra to bring it back forward as well. We'll see. I have a feeling that that could be the case. All right, guys. The other thing I've put aside, actually I just spotted them, are these to help build up my vase of flowers, but they'll be like in the background of all of the elements, just popping around to add more interest to my vase of flowers. So yeah, there you go. So that's my plan. As for the vase itself, stay tuned. Let's just do one thing at a time. Get these made, and once they're in position, this big bouquet, I'll then know how the vase is going to work. So I'm doing it a little bit backwards. I still have my template when I was mucking around with the vase earlier in the piece, and that was sort of getting the size of tables and things like that. So whether it's still relevant, who knows? Who knows? All right, guys, I'm going to say goodbye. Look after yourselves. Have a lovely weekend, and I hope you get time to do some stitching. Okay, see you in the next video. Bye.